from the NewsChannel 5 network and Out and About newspaper. This is Out and About Today, sponsored by the Tennessee Performing Arts Center.
Well, hello, I'm Chuck Long, and we're glad you joined us for a very busy Out and About Today. Nashville LGBT Chamber CEO Joe Woolley will be talking with Brent about an intriguing new endeavor, the NFL Business Connect program. Then Pam visits with author David Shelton about his new book, Unification: Rise of the Thunderblade. But up first, it's Hot Topics on Buzz About, and joining Brent and me on the panel tonight, the aforementioned Joe Woolley. Good to have you here, Joe.
Great to be here.
We're glad you're on our Buzz About panel.
Thanks, I'm excited to be here.
We talk hot topics, exactly.
I hope you came with opinions.
Oh, I always do.
Well, yeah, we do too, so I don't think we have any problem here. So the first buzz topic, hot topic that we're going to talk about is the fact that some people are saying that gay is being watered down, especially in the media, on television, and in the movies. And when I saw that headline, I had just seen the movie Giant Little Ones, which it's a good movie. It's a nice movie. But it occurred to me when I saw the movie that it almost felt like the characters, I didn't know how authentic they were. I'll just kind of leave it at that, and then we'll discuss. So first what we'll do is we'll take a look at part of the trailer, and then we'll talk about it on the backside. So this is Giant Little Ones.
Never would have happened if we weren't wasted.
You and Ballas did something that straight guys don't normally do.
What are you doing?
Moving lockers.
What for?
Why the hell do you think?
Your dad's here.
You know, I have a pretty good idea of what you're going through.
I thought it was supposed to be acceptable these days for kids to experiment.
Isn't that the kind of thing your type like?
He's just doing what he's always done. Jess is running around making sure everyone knows her boyfriend's straight.
Can I walk to school with you?
You realize that together we make one giant target, right?
Again, a nicely done movie, but kind of the question then starts with queer content that we're seeing, and how authentic is the queer content? Because years ago, when you would see gay characters in the movies, they were often villainized or demonized, or
and they were gay.
Yeah, they were gay, and they were not the positive role models. This movie, for me, at times, it begged the question: were they just having the characters say, well, I don't know if I like the man, or I don't know if I like the woman? If the father, it's like he, when he was younger, he married, the woman, and then just decided later that he was gay. So it was just kind of flip-flopping. So my question to you guys is, do you feel that the struggle sometimes that people have with being gay or not being gay, is it being watered down? So kind of what's your take on that, Joe? We'll start with you.
Well, I think the times are changing, and it's reflecting that in our movies. You take a movie like Love, Simon, which was a coming out story,
Right.
where it really was about a closeted kid coming out to his friends and to his family, or Boy Erased, which was really the conversion of a gay person, and what they struggled with as a religious gay person. Movies are evolving. I kind of saw this as the way young people are right now with their sexuality. I think it's much more fluid. We use the term queer much more broadly. It's lessened the negative connotation that it used to have.
Right.
And I think young people today, sexuality is much more fluid, like you kind of saw in that clip. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know what it really goes into. But I don't know, it looked like that's where they were going with it, and then it looked like a lot of drama.
Right. Yeah, so you certainly need it in the movie. So, Brent, what's your take?
Well, I'm going to build off what Joe said, because we were talking earlier in the dressing room as we were getting ready for the show tonight, that I know a lot of Gen Z folks, and I feel like they kind of feel that way, like you were saying, that it's a little bit more, I don't have to decide just yet, I can kind of look at both and see. But what's interesting about this movie is that even though that's what they're doing, they're taking so much flack for it. It's like, if that's really the way that we're, the younger folks are evolving, then why are they getting such a lot of flack for it, if they're undecided? It seems as though they're being fluid, but then still being teased and treated as though they're gay.
Right.
So that was kind of an interesting take for me. But I think, as Joe said, it's just a different time period, and as you even said, the gay characters aren't as flamboyantly gay and out there as much as they used to be. And so we're trying to wrestle with, well, then how do we portray them? So I think it'll be interesting. It's just interesting to see the evolution of where they are, of how they are portrayed.
Right. What do you think, too, as we get more queer content in the movies and in television, do you think we're going to see just a bigger representation of characters, or are we going to, or do you think people are going to start demanding, it's like, oh, you've got to tell this story or that story, and you've got to tell it this way or that way?
Do you have a thought? I'll let you go if you want.
Well, I think that it's obviously working. You see it in books. Our friend Greg is writing queer content books, and it's selling. I
The Whispers is doing very well.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's a desire for it, and when there is a demand, they fill that, and I think we'll keep seeing more and more. I think we're having this conversation because we're seeing something that we might not recognize or identify with. So we're having the conversation of, is that what being LGBT or queer is right now?
Yeah.
So I think it's a great learning experience for all of us.
All right, we're going to have to move. This always happens. We move fast in these hot topics because we want to make sure we get to this one too. Recently, and I love this, we were talking about the movies and now we're talking about the Equality Act. Sally Field and her son Sam Greisman have come out in an ad for the Equality Act. So we're going to take a look at what they have accomplished, and then we'll talk about it on the backside. So take a look.
As long as I'm upright, I will fight for this to be that Sam and everyone's children and grandchildren and sisters and brothers will be protected in every state of the United States.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay. I love you.
Love you.
You know, we should do this more often.
I don't think we should. Once was enough. Become a community co-sponsor by texting Equality Act to 472-472.
And help make history.
All right, so a great PSA. I mean, I love this, all for this, but I want to quickly ask you guys, because it's a lot that in some parts of the country, you don't have your own rights. You're not protected. They're, anti-discrimination, it's alive and well. So, have you ever been in an area of the country where you didn't feel safe, or you didn't feel because you knew that there weren't protected rights for you? Has that ever occurred to you? Start with you, Brent.
Oh, yeah. Fairly recently, in fact, and there was nothing really to justify it other than maybe just my mind, but Matthew and I were driving through Texas, of all places, and we were kind of doing the triangle, so we were going from Dallas to Houston to San Antonio and back around. Anyway, in between those cities, it's just nothing but it's flat nothingness, and we got off a few times at some rest areas and just, you kind of feel the eyes, and we didn't think we were gayed up, but I guess look at us. But we had to take pause for a moment and be like, okay, we can't just, jump out of here and holler at each other and just act, and it was interesting to me because we never really thought about it until the eyes kind of started looking. So it was kind of weird.
Joe?
Personally, I've felt uncomfortable at times where I was like, oh, what would happen if I held my partner's hand, or there's that. But I know it's out there. I work every day in the world of hearing about these stories, and you can get married on Saturday and go to work on Monday and be fired. So yes, there are definitely protections out there that don't exist for us. Have I ever felt it? Not to a great extent, but we're lucky enough, privileged enough to live in the community that we live in, where Nashville is a welcome and accepting place for the most part. Travel 50 miles outside the city and you're going to feel very different holding your partner's hand or just going to work or being yourself. So
at 50 miles where the struggle of any city, really.
Absolutely,
yeah. Which is a good point that Sally Field made about her son Sam. Sam also said, growing up in LA, he felt more comfortable. But she also said, but he even was discriminated against. He wanted to be a sportscaster, and she didn't feel that society was going to allow him to do that at the time. So even in LA, so much to talk about. We'll continue it later. Okay,
right, awesome.
So we're just out of time. That always happens. All right, well, when we come back, Pam is here with author David Shelton with a preview of his newly released book, Unification: Rise of the Thunderblade. You're watching Out and About today.